Hey everybody, welcome back. So glad you're here with me today. Today we're going to be talking about my top 10 favorite crime shows of all time. And, well, there's a ton of crime shows out there. And this is just crime dramas. Like, not true crime. Crime dramas, specifically. And, yeah, it was hard to narrow it down, but I did. And don't be offended if your favorite's not on here, or if you think the ranking should be different. I just want to talk about shows I love. And first off, we'll start with some honorable mentions, like some older ones. Heat of the Night was good. I never watched the whole thing, but my mom used to watch it, so I would end up getting sucked into it. And it was good for an old one, old gumshoe work. I don't know what iteration of Perry Mason I used to see, but that was a good one with gumshoe work. And Diagnosis Murder, Dick Van Dyke, and Walker, Texas Ranger, Chuck Norris. Yeah. Oh, Medium was a good one. Body of Proof. That only lasted like 2 seasons, I think. And Castle was good. But coming in at number 10 is Rizzoli and Isles. They are a great duo. I love Angie Harmon and Sasha Alexander in these roles. They really made it. And the whole cast was good. It was very sad when Lee Thompson Young died. He was on the show. He played in Disney Channel's Famous Jet Jackson, and he sadly lost his life to mental illness. And there is the Lee Thompson Young Foundation if you're ever interested in mental health and BIPOC people. Okay? Number 9 I have is Numbers. One of my favorite actors to see in things, David Krumholtz. I'm probably not even saying his last name right, but he was in the Santa Claus. He played like that head elf with the curly hair. I think it was curly hair. I don't know, but he was in that, and he plays like this genius in this, and it was a cool way to see mathematics. And even if I didn't understand it, it like looked cool, it sounded cool, and yeah, it was cool, like how they solved it. And I don't know, it's hard to explain. Also, an old buddy of mine also had a song on the soundtrack, and it was one of my favorite songs of his, so that was really, really neat. Number 8 is Blue Bloods, because every Friday I say I have a date with Tom Selleck's mustache. Because who can resist Tom Selleck and his mustache? I know you can't. Like, I love the family dynamic, Donnie Wahlberg, and just like how each of these family members fit together and how cool it is. Number 7, I have FBI, the whole franchise. I started watching International last season, and Most Wanted. I started watching that last year too, and they were really good. I love the original one the most, with Missy Pegram, and the guy that used to play Aubrey on Bones is also in FBI, so I thought that was cool. We'll get to that later. But yes, FBI, the original, is the best. Now they have FBI Tuesdays, and I'll be watching when it comes back. Number 6, I know this seems low, but it was hard to place these into specific spots, and that is Criminal Minds and the original. I loved it. It's great. It just it kind of messed with your head. But I liked solving it. And that cast is amazing. Everyone loves Garcia and the dynamic between her and Morgan. I was sad when he left. And my favorite was obviously Spencer Reed, Dr. Spencer Reed. And they are coming back, and I think they started taping already. There's going to be 10 episodes on Paramount Plus. So that will be quite interesting to see. It also had 2 spin-offs. They weren't successful. One had Forrest Whitaker, and the other had Gary Sinise, which we'll get to him too, Lieutenant Dan. But those are my main. I love the original one, and Matthew Gray Gubler is not coming back for the new one, but Aisha Tyler is. All of them except Matthew Gray Gubler and Shamar Moore, and I don't know who the Asian guy was, but I don't think he's coming back because he's signed on to another project. Number 5 is NCIS, and specifically the original and Hawaii. Hawaii started last year with the first female team leader in Jane Tennant, and they're just announced they're doing another crossover with original NCIS. It's gonna air September, I want to say 19th. I could be wrong, but it's happening, and I love it when they mix things up. And original is my favorite. Leroy Jethro Gibbs, loved him, and this new guy, Parker, I like him. I think the transition into not having Mark Harmon around really, he fills the space well, and it's not like he was like, it didn't feel like a replacement Gibbs. Like, he's different and he has his own facets, and I think the show can last a longer time now. But it will be nice to see Mark Harmon maybe guest eventually. So yeah. Number 4 is Crossing Jordan. If you didn't watch it, started in it's like the mid 2000s. Jill Hennessy, she was on original Law and Order. She's the lead in this, and I can't remember his name. He played Macy. He was also his last role before he passed. His first name was Miguel, and I want to say his last name began with an F. And he passed. He was on NCIS Los Angeles, was his last role. But in Crossing Jordan, he's the head of the medical examiner's office. You also have it coming in at like the 2nd or 3rd season. Playing the cop was Jerry O'Connell. Then Lily, who was the grief counselor, she's played by Katherine Hahn, who you know from WandaVision and like many comedy movies. She's a really good actress. She's come a long way. But the dynamic is very, like, she's a boss bitch, Jordan. She, like, you don't want to mess with her. And I love going through the mysteries and solving it, like I do with all of these. But there's just something about her attitude that I love just watching it and rewatching it, and I would love for there to be some kind of revival. I know that'd be kind of hard, but I think it'd be worth looking into doing. Number 3 is Bones, and that's Emily Deschanel and David Borealis. And I don't really watch many things with him. I know he was in Angel, and he's recently in SEAL Team, but I don't watch that either. But they're a dynamic duo. It's like the relationship between them, how it built up, and how they're together, and they have a family, and which didn't come till much later, but still, it kept you shipping, I guess you'd say, for them, and you always rooted for them. And again, the characters and the relationships, and how you could feel for them. Like, you had the brainy people, and then the feelings people, and then the mix. The acting was spectacular. That would be another revival I'd love to see. Number 2 is Law and Order, but only the original. The original is the most badass one there is. And someone that was on the original recently passed away. He was in his 80s. He was in like the first, like maybe 2 or 3 seasons. And the original was my favorite. Now, they did do a revival. I've only seen a few episodes of the revival, but there's only a reason I watched a few episodes, because it just wasn't hitting the same. I don't know how to explain it, but it just didn't feel the same. Like, I don't know. Like, Jeremy Sisto's in it. He's in FBI now, and he was in the original Law and Order toward the end, along with Anthony Anderson. I was a fan of Jerry Orbach, who played Briscoe. He is like the best character ever. He was my favorite character. And people are probably asking, what about Law and Order SVU? I liked it until a point. It got to this one season where it seemed like all they were doing was torturing poor Benson, and I couldn't watch it anymore. It felt like defeated and weird, and I just did not like what they were doing. And number 1 is CSI. CSI is my absolute favorite show ever, across the board, with every franchise installation. The original cast, I believe, was the best, but it's still really, really good. They had the original, and then they had the ending, which was kind of like a mini movie. Then this past year, they started with CSI Vegas, it's called, and there was 10 episodes, and that arc was really, really cool to see. It talked about David Hodges was framed for murders that took place, like, that he solved. It's a big mystery, and Paramount Plus has it. You could go watch it. It's only 10 episodes, so you're good. And the new cast and the technologies are kind of revitalized in it, so I think that's cool. I loved CSI New York with Gary Sinise, because Gary Sinise, Lieutenant Dan, he's the man, and the Lieutenant Dan band, and all of the stuff he does for veterans. He's an amazing human being, and we are honored to have him on our screens. And other favorite characters are Danny and Lindsay. I also love CSI Miami, and when I need to cheer up, I'll pretend I'm Horatio Caine putting my sunglasses on and pretend I have a snappy comeback, because that is the best. It just makes you feel good, and I love Horatio Caine. He's my favorite. And Delco's good too. But Lieutenant Kane is my favorite from that one. And yeah. And thank you for listening to me ramble on about crime shows that I love. And if you have a favorite crime drama, drop it down below, and maybe I've seen it, maybe I haven't. But I hope you're having a wonderful day, and I will see all of you in the next one.